Okay, so what does the head covering have to do with my day-to-day life? This is where it gets touches the heart. And speaking of heart, this is if you're wondering what this is behind me, this is a little drawing that my son made for me. It says "I love Mom," and you can't really see it, but it's two little stick figures holding hands. And especially after I've had a difficult day, it's just really nice to see that before I go to bed. Anyway, God gives us all kinds of things like that. Reminders that He's with us, that He loves us. And I can't believe that I'm saying this, because when I started this journey, I never would have thought this, but the symbol of the head covering is one of those reminders. Now, the head covering itself is just whatever, a hat, a piece of cloth, a scarf, whatever you choose to use, if you choose to wear it. It's just a thing. It has no weight spiritually. It's just a thing. But God has put on it a meaning, and that meaning, if we truly own that meaning, then it can have an effect on our souls, on our spirits. So an example of this is actually in 1 Corinthians 10, the chapter right before the head covering. And the writer is talking about the Israelites going through the wilderness, trudging through the wilderness, and God gave them all kinds of symbols, things to remind them that He was with them. And in fact, in the chapter 10, it says that, I have my Bible down here, that's why I keep looking down, that they were all symbols of Christ. The pillar of fire, the pillar of cloud, the rock specifically is what I'm thinking of. It says that rock was Christ. So every time they wandered around in the wilderness, they would come back around to this rock that had this river of water, life flowing out of it. It reminded them that God was with them, that He was for them, and that He cared about their needs. And God has given us, as the church, as Christians, reminders of the same thing, that we are not alone in this life, that as we trudge through the mundane and the difficult things, that He's with us. I know, if you're thinking the head covering does not say this to me, that's okay. Sometimes we have been taught things, or we read things, and it doesn't seem to match up. And I didn't think it matched up either. So hopefully through these videos I can show you a bit more of how the head covering points us to Christ, is a symbol of Christ. So the most basic way in 1 minute to tell you how this is so is to say that in 1 Corinthians 11, in verse 10, it says that it's an authority on our head. And so we know that a woman is a symbol of the church, and that Christ is our head. And like, we have His authority over principalities and powers, over demonic forces. Christ is with us. We have this treasure in earthen vessels, so that they may know that this power it's of God. It's not of us. Like, we have Christ. We have the Godhead. We have God in us, God with us, Emmanuel. And with that comes the authority. So in the military, so that word authority is a military, it's in the Greek, it has to do with the military, it's a military term. And if I were like the lowest in the military and the highest person in the military gave me a command, a mission, and I were to go on that mission, and as I was completing this mission, someone higher ranking than me said, no, you don't have the clearance for this, I would say, actually, yes, I do, on authority of, and that person outranks them. And so I then have the authority, as long as I stay under the authority of the person who gave me the authority. How many times can you say authority in a sentence? As long as I stay under the authority, in other words, do things the way that they have laid out for me to do them, then I have their authority to complete the mission with my own talents and giftings and abilities and unique spin on it. And it's the same way as with the Christian. We have God living in us, and therefore we have his authority. If we are living under his authority, we have his authority to storm the gates of hell, to heal the brokenhearted, to speak good news, to care for the orphans and widows, to keep unspotted from the world, to love those who, like us, seem unlovable, but who have been created, designed with inherent worth. We have the authority to speak truth, to bring life to a lost and dying world.